Hello and welcome to our video talking about hybrid cloud and how we'd want to position a hybrid cloud solution from SHI, Microsoft, and Hewlett Packard Enterprise for the FSE audience at SHI to accomplish your Q3 objective. So first, understand that this video is intended to be sort of a reference point so that you can go and take and internalize any of the points made in this video that may be applicable to your customers, and also to satisfy your Q3 objective when you'll sort of run through this and then sort of come back and present this to me. So to start it off, here's what we'll do. In the discussion about hybrid cloud, it's really important to understand sort of where we were, how we got to where we are today. So the first thing I like to try to do is sort of give people an understanding of why customers move to cloud in the first place. And there's really only 3 or 4 reasons that I hear from most customers why they do that. First of all, economics, right? Customers found that they were getting very frustrated with spending a ton of money right up front, CapEx, capital expenditures, paying for IT resources that they may or may not use right up front. So customers wanted to go to more of a pay-per-use model, pay-as-you-go model, or an OpEx, operational expense model. That's been in place for some years now, and that's really one of the main drivers for moving to cloud. Second off is what I like to call the easy button. The ability for a developer, let's say, who's tasked with coming up with a new application that will sort of leapfrog a company's competitors. And what they'll want to do is they'll want to go and stand up a development environment almost instantly and very simply to go and create that application. All it takes is for an IT department to come back to that developer with an answer of, sure, we can do that, but it'll take us 3 months to get there. That it takes for that developer to go and say, fine, you know what, I'm going to hit the easy button. I'm going to go and take my credit card. I'm going to go out to some public cloud provider. I'm going to spend $50 and I'm going to get an infrastructure. So that's the easy button. So that's number 2. Number 3 is speed. That same developer wants that infrastructure right away. They don't want to waste time. They don't want to waste resources waiting for that environment to take place. So again, hitting that easy button gives them the ability to have that infrastructure right away. And in today's business environment, speed is absolutely key. And believe it or not, the last reason that we hear from a lot of people about why they're moving to cloud is because their good-looking CEO down here, their good-looking CEO came back and said, we need to move to cloud. For whatever reason it may be, but a lot of times that management objective carries down, and it's the reason why a lot of our customers are exploring cloud. So once customers have made the decision to move to a public cloud environment, the question they have to ask themselves, and sometimes they may ask you, is which public cloud provider or which cloud provider would your customers want to move to? And they have a choice. There's a few choices that are out there. So first, and the one everyone's heard of, is Amazon AWS. It's been around for a while. It's sort of the leading, if you think cloud, you think of Amazon, leading in the enterprise space. A more recent newcomer is Google, and Google's cloud is more focused on the public sector environment and governments and schools and the like, and is a little bit less widespread than Amazon's AWS. Microsoft's also a newcomer to the game with Microsoft Azure and Microsoft Azure Stack. It's actually been the fastest growing cloud provider over the last few years, and we feel certainly poised to take a significant portion of market share from AWS and perhaps surpass AWS. And then from Hewlett Packard Enterprise, for those customers that are not looking to move to a public cloud, but want a cloud environment sort of on-prem, is HPE's composable infrastructure. So with our Synergy platform and our storage products, we're able to go and offer that customer a complete cloud-like environment, completely on-prem, using their IT, their controls, and their hardware. And then last but not least, there's certainly other providers. So for example, VMware running on AWS certainly can be considered a cloud provider. But of all these infrastructures, of all these cloud environments, Microsoft's Azure and Azure Stack environment are actually growing 91% year over year, and are what we're really going to be focusing on. So one of the things we're seeing is that of those Microsoft customers, a full 72% of Microsoft Azure customers, according to Microsoft, are looking to move from a full public cloud environment sort of back to a private or hybrid cloud environment. So you can look at it similar to a pendulum. So if you've got your pendulum here, it originally started out with on-prem. In recent years, the pendulum has swung over to a full cloud environment, and you can now think of that pendulum as sort of swinging back towards the middle to a true hybrid. A true hybrid environment, or hybrid IT environment. So what are some of the reasons behind that change, that migration from full cloud to hybrid cloud? So we've already established that that pendulum of IT continuum is moved from the full public cloud, and it's moving back towards the middle to hybrid cloud. Some of the reasons behind the drive, the move to that middle ground, are listed up here. So why hybrid? So for example, first and foremost, again, is economics, right? What customers are finding is that that easy button that they hit back in the day that started out as a $500 a month cost, now because the size of your data has grown or the actual usage and throughput of your applications have gone from a development environment to a full production environment, that $500 a month charge can now be $500,000 a month, $5 million a month, astronomical. And it's forcing customers to realize, hey, that cost, that OpEx cost, is far outstripping what it would cost for us to go and create an on-prem platform, to actually go out and buy resources and do this in-house ourselves. So that original OpEx that was less expensive is costing far more. So economics is by far driving this the most. What's also extremely important these days is security. Now certainly we've seen customers can screw up on-prem security. They can screw that up very easily, but so can cloud, public cloud. So now what we're finding is that customers' on-prem security strategies are becoming much more mature and robust, and are actually in many cases far better than what you could encounter in a public cloud environment. So regardless of whether it's a line of business or an SLA, customers are finding that due to security, they need to go and pull that data back in-house in an on-prem or hybrid cloud environment. Another reason is data sovereignty. And data sovereignty can be industry-driven, such as in the US with the HIPAA laws, where data security and data must be in certain specific locations, or government-driven. So for example, in Canada, the province of Alberta requires that any data associated with their government or their citizens must be physically residing in the province of Alberta. Now, Alberta is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and there isn't a lot of public cloud presence in Alberta. So they were forced to actually go with a hybrid cloud environment to keep their data on-prem. So control is also a key thing. What customers are finding now is that certainly with public cloud outages, they have a little less control over what the performance and what the characteristics of their data is. So they're finding that they want to go and as their internal processes get more mature, they want to have more direct control over the environment, over how their application runs, and over the overall throughput of the environment. And then also that brings us to performance. Performance is also a key metric when it comes to public cloud versus hybrid cloud adoption. Performance on-prem allows customers to go and basically choose the kind of hardware they want on there, the different types of connections and configurations. There's a lot more capability, there's a lot more ability to have higher performance in an on-prem environment as opposed to really in a public cloud environment. And then last but not least is modern application development. It sounds like an obscure reason, but if you think about it, what customers are looking for right now is the faster build to new applications, accurate, useful, business applications, and really what's driving that are the developers themselves. So what customers are looking for is the ability to go and take that one set of developers, writing to one code set one set of microservices, and then the ability to go and take that code base and deploy that either in a public cloud environment or in a private cloud environment, such as Azure Stack, and then the ability to only have to do that once and not have to go and change that code regardless of the workload that they're positioning. So as we're talking about reasons to go to hybrid, it makes sense to sort of just cover a little bit about what some of the workloads that make sense to move from a public cloud environment to a hybrid cloud environment. So we talked about why customers might move back to hybrid cloud. Let's talk a little bit specifically about the workloads that might make a good fit for moving to a hybrid cloud environment. So first is anything that's an edge or a disconnected scenario. So for example, take a cruise ship, for example. When a cruise ship's out at sea, bandwidth is very, very limited. They're doing a lot of point of sale. They're doing a lot of application-specific things on the cruise ship, really to generate revenue and navigation and the like. And they're doing that in a disconnected environment. When they come into port and they connect up to fiber connections, all that data syncs back up to the mothership, if you will, and allows really a seamless connection. So that's edge and disconnected. IoT, or Internet of Things. Any IoT environment. So for example, we've got a lot of customers that are using IoT devices to track flow rates or manufacturing parameters, and those instances generate a lot of data, and a lot of times you can't send all that data back up the pipe back to the data center for processing. So in an IoT environment, that local instance of Azure Stack, let's say, will do a lot of that processing, and then when a connection becomes available, or even if not, it'll just go and send the results back up to the data center. So that's IoT. Many customers these days in a Microsoft environment are using Active Directory all throughout their global enterprises. So Active Directory Sync allows that one connected or not environment to go and really remain constant throughout the rest of the infrastructure, the rest of the environment. One of the big things that we see, and one of the pushes these days for SHI, are customers that are in a manufacturing environment. So take, for example, a pharmaceutical manufacturing customer. They have their facilities down in San Juan. Everything's running great. Last year they got hit with that horrible hurricane, and once the physical damage was repaired to the buildings and they had power back to their manufacturing facilities and folks could come to work, they still couldn't go and manufacture pharmaceuticals because they did not have the internet connection back up to their central data center to monitor production facilities, to do quality control. In an Azure Stack environment or a hybrid cloud environment, those manufacturing facilities can be up and running right away, and then it can go and sync that data back up when the connection becomes available. And the last thing I put is really just kind of blank, because really most all workloads lend themselves pretty well to a hybrid environment, because if you think about it, they're using a lot of on-prem stuff that we've done in traditional IT, but at the same time they're using those microservices that are very, very easy to go and develop to. And then the flexibility of whether or not I'm going to take that workload and put it in a public cloud environment someplace, or in a public server someplace, or bring it back on-prem. So now we understand why hybrid cloud, what some of the workloads are. The next thing and the final thing I want to leave you folks with is really just why your customers would be interested in doing all of this with SHI on Microsoft Azure Stack and with HPE. So as you can see, there's a lot of reasons why customers would want to move to a hybrid cloud environment. One of the things we are concerned with is making sure that those customers want to make that migration to hybrid cloud with HPE through SHI and on Microsoft's Azure and Azure Stack. So some of the reasons that we have here, we'll talk about why that's a really good fit for our customers. And you'll see there's some synergy between the two. So first of all is, again, economics. With HPE and SHI and Microsoft, through our GreenLake product, we allow customers to go and purchase their Azure Stack on-prem IT environment, not as a CapEx, but as an OpEx, just as they would spend for public cloud. So essentially, it gives them the opportunity to use public cloud economics with private IT infrastructure, sort of the best of both worlds. So that's our GreenLake or flex capacity products. The next big reason it was very important for customers was security. So from a security perspective, our industry-leading Gen 10 hardware, it really leaves no stone unturned when it comes to on-prem hardware security. With our feature known as Hardware Root of Trust, we allow our iLoad chip and some of the other internals within our Gen 10 servers to basically eliminate the threat of firmware or BIOS-based threat vectors to attack the hardware directly, and essentially leave a lot of the software components to your customers' ITIL and ITSM practices, as well as the security natively built into Microsoft's Azure Stack. So it eliminates that hardware issue with security stuff. Next, very important for customers, was control. And with control, having that hardware on-prem gives the ability to implement a lot of services. So for example, within the Microsoft Azure Stack environment, more than half of the installed base that's out there is on HPE hardware. It has been installed with HPE services, and a lot of that is through partners. So for example, with SHI, they can add a lot of value-add services. So for example, application migration, the ability to go and identify which workloads make sense to move to a hybrid cloud environment. A lot of the services that your CIS team can go and offer, we can add on top of that, and it allows customers to have a lot more control over what they migrate to cloud and how they go and do that migration. With the peace of mind in knowing that over half that installed base that's out there is with HPE services on HPE hardware. So that's the control piece. And then last but not least is the performance and flexibility of moving to an HPE platform. So what we'll do is understand that Microsoft requires their OEM partners to go through a very rigorous certification process for any piece of hardware they wish to run with Microsoft Azure Stack. So with HPE, that we give our customers the flexibility to have the most storage per node and the most processor choices per node. And the benefit for our customers is that, again, with that current 16-node Microsoft Azure Stack limitation, we give our customers the most performance per node, as well as the most storage capacity per node. So essentially it gives them the biggest, most capable nodes per environment of anybody else that's out there. And again, from a performance perspective, we certify all the top-end Intel Xeon processors to give our customers the most capable and powerful servers on the market today in the Azure Stack environment. So if you can just sort of compare why your customers would want to go and purchase an Azure Stack environment from SHI on HPE hardware, a lot of those reasons sort of dovetail very nicely to what we see on the right side of the screen, which is why customers would move to a hybrid cloud environment in the first place. Hopefully you've gotten some information out of what we've spoken about today in understanding what your customer's journey from on-prem to public cloud back to hybrid cloud has been, understanding why they might want to do that and why SHI, HP, and Microsoft Azure are a really good fit for those customers. Once you've gotten to that point and you want to further expand your efforts within that customer, there's a couple of resources that we have available for you to go and help you along that. So first of all is your internal SHI Cloud and Infrastructure Services team. They're a group of experts that are just focused on cloud opportunities, and cloud can be public cloud, private cloud, or hybrid. They know everything there is to know about Azure Stack and the HPE initiative, both from a sales, marketing, as well as from a technical perspective, and they are available to help you with your further sales efforts and your customers. Next up is the SHI badged HPE Data Center team, so it's engaged as HP Data Center at shi.com. They can assist you with any hardware issues, configurations, pricing, actual solution builds. They can get in touch with distribution, as well as help with any of the pricing or any other BDM type functions. That's the SHI badged HPE team. Also is the HPE channel team, so myself, Candice Romasindo, Giuliano Cristino, Alan Yu, Sam Strength, Luke Harron, Brian DeRosa, any of the folks that cover SHI We're able to provide resources both ourselves as well as get you guys in touch with the right HPE resource to help you go and close a deal or further a deal. And then also over in your Customer Innovation Center in the 300 building in Somerset, you actually have a working demo of Azure Stack. Currently it's a single node unit, so the workload space is fairly limited, but you can show customers the ability to go and move from a public cloud environment to hybrid cloud, how they might do that, and how simple it is, and also highlight some of the services that SHI can offer in that. So hopefully this has been a help. Again, internalize as much or as little as the information as possible. The ask really is to go and do some sort of a live conversation where we can go over as much of this as possible and help you guys get your objectives satisfied for Q3. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.